I'm a huge hockey guy, but
Oh, okay.
actually a bunch of Kings last night went to the Comedy Store to see me. So
Oh,
I
nice.
was I was starstruck by these guys that most people wouldn't know who they are. So
Yeah. Are you a Kings fan? Or do you have another team?
I'm a Kings guy.
Okay.
Although I was really digging the Tampa Bay Florida series because they hate each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. I'm glad we won last night, so we pulled it off. Pulled off the series and yeah, on to the next. Either Carolina or Nashville, I think. So, yeah, should be fun.
I don't,
Now you so I mean you doing gigs right now? Are you
yeah,
yeah.
they
Are-
in LA. I think they're 40% capacity now. So
okay.
June 15th is the all clear. Like you can walk in naked with no mask. So we're
Ooh.
just holding till then to experience the full recovery.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
Hey,
here they've just recently ended the mask mandates for stores and stuff like that, and it is. I still wear mine going in, but it was a bit interesting, restaurants and normally everyone has got face shields and all this stuff, and now since it's gone, all the staff is like, nope, done. I'm not wearing anything, and it was a bit jarring to see which came over like maybe the last week or two. So it's the masks are off now.
yeah.
It's confusing because I think, like at the Comedy Store, you can tell people are like, "Am I supposed to wear it? Or are we good?" Because you can't enter unless you show your vaccination proof. So it's people are like unsure how to greet each other. Like, can we
Right.
hug? Can we not hug her? So
Yeah, I just I bought a, kayak the other day, and like I was with the guy, and I was like, do I shake his hand saying thank you? Like I don't know. Like we're both not wearing masks right now. Like what do I do? I don't know what to do. But I didn't end up shaking his hand. He didn't go for it, so I was like, all right, we won't shake hands. That's fine. That's cool. So yeah. So you reached out to me, which I always enjoy, was when we get I
Rick
was
Overton.
yeah, Rick Overton. What's your relationship with him? How do you know him? Through
He
the
is a legend to me. Like,
yeah.
uh, I can't even really put it into proper terms how much I respect him. Just I would do shows with him early on in my career, and I would usually go on before him because I'm less known, and I would have a good set, and in my head I would be like, "Follow that, Rick." And 3 minutes in, he made me feel like I had bombed. Like he's that good. And then when I was on the Showtime show, I'm Dying Up Here, which I was barely in, but I'm in it enough to say I'm in it. The first day of the table read, I walked in and he was there, and it was just like, what, this isn't work. You get to
Yeah.
hang out for 16 hours a day.
Well, it's funny. We asked him like what he's most proud of, and he actually brought up I'm dying up here. So, and you were part of that. So there you go. You did it. You made it. Rick Overton. Enjoyed work he did with you. So there you
I
go.
mean, it was like the little show that could. Like it just never really picked up the ratings, and
Right. Yeah.
it's like you look at the cast that was in it. Um, Melissa Leo won an Oscar. Uh,
Yeah.
the some of the I want to say cameos, but the guest starring like Alfred Molina, and I was starstruck when he was there because he was in my favorite episode of Miami Vice. So I'm like, oh my god, you played the lawyer in Miami Vice, and he was like, I don't even remember doing that part. And like Dylan Baker, who's like this legendary character actor, he's in everything. So it still is puzzling to me why it didn't really, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. That's what
get the
he.
ratings. I thought
Yeah, that's what he was kind of saying. He said like that the work that, could have been with that is some of the best that, happen, and it's yeah, it's a shame that it didn't go further. How's did you meet Brad Garrett?
He was awesome. We had a
Yeah.
bond. I had a scene with him, and it was a very quick scene, but because he's from Vegas, or he lives in Vegas. I'm not sure if
Right.
he's from there. And I brought up the Golden Knights, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't even go to the games, but they gave me season tickets on the glass." I'm like, "Oh man, can we hang out?"
Can I be your
And he was
friend?
very nice. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, I mean, I'm a fan of yours anyway, but now I'm really a fan of
You're
yours."
right.
And he was I thought he should have won an Emmy for his work on the second season, because he was. You could tell he was compiling his character out of probably the people that he started with that were kind of down and out, and he was rising. And but I don't think we won too many awards either.
But hey, it seems like it has more of a cult following, and maybe it'll start to ruminate. Kind of Arrested Development did that, where it was like it lasted 3 seasons, but it like was revered by critics and everything. You never know. You never know
Yeah,
with
maybe
these
you'll end up on
things.
Netflix or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
yeah, but I think the problem, like all my friends were like, they had two problems with the show. One, they're like, "Well, we don't get Showtime." I'm like, "Well, it's not that hard to get.
Right.
It's not like it's the porn channel in New York, Channel J, where you had to." Don't ask me why I know what the porn channel in New York was. They didn't know if it was a comedy or a drama, because they were like, "Well, it's not that funny." I'm like, "Well, it's not supposed to be. Like, the comedy's a sad business, in a lot of ways."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's very ironic that it's that way. And yeah, the scrambled cable channels in Detroit for me were 87, 88, and 89. But that's neither here nor there.
It's amazing how long you would sit and wait for just a glimpse, right?
Yeah. It's like,
I just remember the first time I went to New York, my sister took me from high school graduation, and I didn't know anything about the local channel, so I just turned on the TV in the hotel, and there was, I don't even know how to. There was a nightstick and a woman, and they were interacting, and like I was like, "This is regular cable, and this is wild." Like, and then
nice.
the guy, I guess, who ran the channel was, I'll never forget his name, Al Goldstein, who I guess is a legendary pornographer. So it started to make sense.
Yeah. It's kind of going to segue into the movie. I mean, a little bit, with with all that. But first, I want to get into a little bit more about you. No, you did the Jeff Ross Presents Roast Battle.
Yes.
How far did you get in that?
Well, I got a little farther than Jeff and the network wanted me to go, but I kept
Really?
beating it. Yeah, it was they kept putting me up against, because I have a love of pro wrestling. So, roast battle is not really my sense of humor. I don't like to call someone fat or a whore or,
Yeah.
whatever physical abnormality they have. I don't like to make fun of it. I like to do that to myself.
Right. Yeah.
But when I found out I could get on TV calling someone else that, I'm like, "Hey, I'm on board with this show."
Well, if it's going to get me on TV.
I mean, I sold out. I'm a big '80s metalhead, and I like bands like Poison and Rat. I would always hear those bands go, "We sold out playing that music." I don't really like wearing black leather pants with a pink neon guitar, but I was a classically trained musician, and I was making no money, so I had to, play that to make millions. And that's how I kind of feel about roast battle. I sold out doing it, but like I beat Jimmy Carr, who's probably the most famous comic in the world. Like he opens up for the Killers. Like he's like plays stadiums, and I think the network was mad I beat him. So
how did I mean, this was back in 2016. How did they determine who won? Who decided that?
well, I mean, I think they tried to. It was done like the NCAA tournament. You had brackets, and you
Okay.
advanced, and then you would. But they a little bit of pro wrestling, style judging. Like they wanted you to advance, you would advance. And I think I put a fly in their ointment plans. But I kept beating people they wanted to see move on. And,
the fly in the ointment. Okay, won't go away.
Yeah. I haven't been asked back on the network.
So you kind of changed your approach, but what's your? I don't think you mentioned what your favorite way of insulting someone is.
It's got to be the truth. Nothing hurts more than the truth. So, you can, like I'll tell you what people would joke about on me. I was the oldest contestant. I'm 52, so back then I was. I went to USC, so my math is off. I was about 47, and so people would do old jokes, and then to show you how deep roast battle can go. Like my parents passed away 2 months apart in 1998, so people would hit me with that, and
oh man,
I had
there's no limit.
Girlfriend. I mean, it's brutal, but I did the same thing. You research. So like, if I back then was roast battling you, I would find out any skeleton you had. Like, if you had an abortion, I would interview the doctor.
Someone called me fat, honestly.
Yeah, like you're like, I don't like calling people fat, but no. So there's literally no line with this. Like there's
which is amazing to me that the show lasted as long as it did. I mean, we had. I don't even feel comfortable saying this now, but we had people who may have been assaulted in varying forms. Those jokes were left in. I had a joke against Tom Ballard, who's this very, very funny gay comic, and Kevin Hart was judging. So I got all excited. I'm like, I'm going to do a twofer here. I'm going to do a gay joke and a race-related joke in the same bit.
Oh.
It might have been the greatest reaction to any joke I've ever told. But I don't even want to repeat it.
Right.
Because, I mean, I'm not big enough to get canceled, but whatever fame I have would get canceled if I repeated the joke.
Maybe when we're done with the episode, you can tell us.
It's the greatest combination of two awfully...
Yeah.
I'll tell it.
He's like, screw it. Life be damned.
I edit, so if you ever want me to edit it out, I can. So,
I mean, you gotta, because there was about 2 weeks ago, a comic did a joke that was on tape, and it got him canceled for a little bit. So maybe I should tell it off air. I'll do it off air.
He wants to tell it so bad.
I know.
I do. So it's so good.
I'm writing it. I'm writing it down now, so he tells it after. Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is this show could not come out in 2021. Is what you are saying.
I mean, I know they still do the weekly show at the Comedy Store, which I think they're not Periscope, but I don't know if Periscope is still a thing, but that's when the show was really pumping, they would Periscope the battles. I don't think it could. I mean, like the jokes, just to show you how wild the show used to be. Now, this is a weekly show, which is what Comedy Central saw and thought, let's get this on TV. The first, I think, year and a half on the show, if there were two white battlers battling, each one got an N-word and could say it.
Wow.
Now, keep in mind the host. Yeah. I mean, it was craziness. Like,
Yeah.
and the host is black, so like,
Yeah.
clearly he.
So it's okay. My best friend
Yeah, I
is
mean, it
black,
was.
so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was. There were no holes barred. I mean,
Right.
uh,
Yeah,
there
that's
were one of the battlers I'll never forget had HIV in real life, and he wanted to roast battle, and I he didn't roast battle me, but I'm like, dude, if you roast battle and you let people know your medical condition, that's going to be joked about. He's like, oh, I know, that's why I'm doing it. I'm like, okay, whatever.
just
This is
letting you
not.
know. Just letting you know.
This is really not the show to do show and tell with the audience.
Did,
So
did
you
you
got
get
to be. I mean, to even I would assume not just for this show, but I would guess maybe just comics generally. You have to kind of, which I can tell you're sort of this kind of guy, Earl, which is you just have to be open and honest and be able to, kind of be able to admit your faults and kind of have them out there because that seems like the only way you could possibly survive this business.
Yeah, well, you have to beat them before they beat you. So, going into a battle, I knew they were going to do an old joke, so I would do one almost on myself first to lessen the blow of their joke. And like my friend Ralphie May, who was a great, great comic.
Yeah.
And what a shock that a comic would die of a heart attack at 594 pounds. But like when he
boom,
did,
boom,
yeah.
roasted.
I mean, he had four. He was cremated, and boy, I would have loved to have been that guy to get that order.
Right.
At his memorial at the Improv, they had 4 boxes of ashes for him. I mean, I thought they were building a second stage.
Oh man!
But like he did roast battle, and he was not prepared for fat jokes, and he just got killed because he was like, I don't know what is. I mean, he was a dear friend, but
right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was a great guy. Like, he was big here in Tampa because he was friends with a local radio host here.
Yeah.
And yeah, you would think someone like that would expect that and has been has been through that his whole life. So it's like, how could you not expect that at least? It's
yeah, I mean, like my aunt is Ethel Kennedy, who was married to Bobby Kennedy, the second brother who got killed.
Really?
So, yeah. So I don't say that to impress you guys.
Right, but
like,
yeah, that's interesting.
I know that if anyone's going to roast battle me, there's going to be a Kennedy joke.
Right.
Somewhere in there where Earl's head is so big that if he was riding shotgun with JFK that day, he'd still be alive, or like something. I know that. That's a tame joke.
Yeah, that's.
Oh man!
I see here. Ethel, she's still alive, 93 years old. Look at that.
Yeah, no, she's
still kicking.
She's doing pretty well for 93. I mean, I only see her at weddings, funerals, and court trials. So,
how'd you? Go ahead.
Those are the family gatherings in the Skakel household.
Yeah, it is what it is. How'd you get along with Jeff Ross?
Oh, we hate each other, to be honest with you. But like,
why?
I don't know, man. I try and get along with everyone, but
I mean, from obviously he does all these roasts, but even so, like it doesn't seem like he's an easy guy to get along with. He seems very arrogant, and I'm never trying to get him on the show, so I don't care what I say.
You'd think we would get along.
Yeah,
like I was a fan of his before I met him, and then.
Was it the kind of thing where he thought he was bigger than he really is and kind of looked down on people?
I mean, I think in my case, I was one of the founding fathers of roast battle. So when he came on board, I always got the vibe, and this goes, maybe I'm too honest for my own good, but I always got the kind of vibe from him that it was, okay, how do we do what Earl does, but not use Earl? And it's like, well, what? Like, I don't understand that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's, yeah, just.
It's like, what? How about use me and I make the show better, and you could keep going with it. Like, but that's part of the business that I'll probably never understand.
Yeah, showbiz, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I would think you'd want people who were good at, what they're good at to stick around instead of,
Yeah,
particularly if you're good at it, rather than having like a target on your back or something.
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was too funny, I guess. I don't know.
I think that must have been it.
Yeah,
I didn't have any allegations against me, so we didn't have a lot in common.
yeah. I'm just too funny.
Do you keep a lot of friends, Earl?
I'm probably one of the most well-liked guys in LA comedy, but not my comedy, but just like like I said, I try and get along with everyone, and
Sure.
I still love doing comedy for the art. You do comedy for 20 years, you're not in it for the money.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I have a lot of close friends because my interests are so, like, even with the movie we're going to talk about,
Right.
like most people's favorite movies are Jaws or The Godfather or Heat, not the Burt Reynolds one, but the one with Robert De Niro.
No, I'm
one of the things we do here is one of the things we do here is we can kind of get our audience to get to know our guests through the movies that they pick, and I think this is one of the sleaziest movies I've ever seen in my life. So I think this will help people get to know what kind of guy you are.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to get into the movie, but quickly, I mean, you said, I just am very curious now, just because you said, you were one of the oldest contestants and everything. You said you've been doing it 20 years, so you started in your late 30s comedy?
I started at 30 years old, so which is pretty late to start. Right. But it's when I started, and all my friends, the people who got me to start were all my friends who were managers and agents at like the big agencies, ICM, William Morris, CAA. They were like, dude, you're the funniest guy we know, Earl. And they had like gigantic clients like Jim Carrey, and I'm not saying I'm funnier than Jim Carrey, I'm not, but those are the kind of people they represented, and so that got me the confidence to start. And then as soon as I started, they all quit the business to get into real estate. So those bastards. I'm still pissed.
What were you doing before comedy?
I was a private fitness trainer.
Wow, look at you. And then,
which, in LA is like saying you're an actor. I mean, there's a zillion fitness trainers there.
Yeah. And then, sorry, one more thing I got to ask before we get into the movie. Why, when I Google you, so many things about Jeremy Piven come up? I know if it's too long, don't worry about it.
No. I'm trying to I don't want your audience to think I'm the a-hole.
Not possible.
Well, not with Jeremy Piven, his name involved. I'm just fascinated that he would get Me Too'd out of Hollywood, and his first instinct is, hey, I'll get into stand-up.
Right, yeah.
And so he's I don't think he's very respectful in the business. It's like if I got Me Too'd out of comedy and I just said, hey, I want to start acting, I would be very respectful and, okay, I'm in a new field. I'm going to just be quiet and learn and be humble. And he bombed one night at the Comedy Store pretty badly, which is we've all bombed there, but he just slaps me on the shoulder. It's like, hey, bro, I think I got this. And I'm like, oh, no, you don't have it.
No.
Most people would be like, I had a bad set. Maybe I should watch others who are better than me and learn. He was so delusional that he was like, no, I'm good.
Oh, man.
What do you do when it's just not, you got a set, right? And then you're halfway through and you just get nothing. I mean, do you just push through? Do you leave? I mean, how do you deal with that when you're in that moment? Or like, I've lost these people and I don't think I'm getting them back.
I push through, man. Um, it's the worst feeling in the world. Like I always compare comedy to sex. When it's going well, it's like coming. But when it's not going well, it's like coming early. It just, there's,
Coming where?
uh, anywhere but where you should. I mean, you can't leave. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
just, and with my type of humor, which is very dry, very sarcastic, um, I think you either get it or you don't. So it's like being a fastball pitcher or a knuckleball pitcher. Like if that's what you do, that's what you do. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
if they're hitting home runs off your fastball or knuckleball, you can't really throw a curveball. So here comes another knuckleball.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't hit it out of the park. You just have to plow through it. And,
So you don't pull out a prop if things aren't going well.
I did do that once. It was my first time at the Comedy Store, and I went to the Hustler shop, which used to be right down the street. And I bought a huge dildo. I thought, well, I'm going to use this in case I'm bombing. And I bombed. So I'm like, hey, man, I know you guys don't like me. And it's packed room. It's dead. It's packed, but it's dead silent. So I pulled out the dildo and like, don't worry, everyone thinks I'm a big dick. And it got even worse than that. Like,
They're like, oh, okay.
But I mean, I never truly bomb anymore. I mean, there's certainly sets that go better than others, but I'm lucky that even, and this goes to maybe doing it for so long. I've got a lot of tricks in my comedy bag. So
yeah, like when things aren't going, you know how to maneuver it and how to bring it home and stuff. So yeah,
like if I have a joke that doesn't do well, or if I have and I definitely have a few jokes that cross that line of maybe being too soon. And some will say from the crowd, too soon, my standard line. And of course I'm giving a trade secret away, but and it's never not worked as, hey, I don't think that joke is too soon because I was doing 9/11 jokes before the second plane hit the tower. And it's never not worked to get the crowd back.
That's great.
Except for one time, it went well when I said it, but after the show, a guy came up to me and it's like, hey, my brother was in Tower 2. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't talking about that 9/11. I was talking about the mattress sale 2005, September 11th. And I don't think he bought what I was saying.
I don't think that's a good one. You need a stronger one than that.
You just didn't get it. You didn't get it. You misunderstood
me. Obviously, you don't want to upset anyone who's coming to a stand-up show. So, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do up there, like to get it going again.
Yeah. Now, all right.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Dave.
No.
Dave, go ahead.
Because if that was the case, I mean, not that you want to go to right to 9/11, but there's someone somewhere will be affected by your joke. So then if you thought that way, then there would be no comedy. So.
Yeah, I mean, like when I talk about my parents passing away 2 months apart, there's probably the likelihood of, like last night I was in a room of, 150 people. You got to figure at least one person's probably lost their mom or dad relatively recently. And, but there was humor in our situation. Cause like when my, mom died first, the casket guy was like trying to sell me a casket, like a car. He's like, oh, your mom will love it in here. It's got velour carpeting and it's got lots of space. I'm like, she's going to get smaller year by year. I don't think the head space. And so then 2 months later, my dad passes away because they were both pretty sick. Sorry to bring the podcast down. Same guy selling me virtually the same casket. Oh, I know your mom's comfortable right now. Your dad would love this one. And I was like, just give me the box, bro.
Yeah, just car
Like this fucking
salesman.
guy again.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he had no remorse about trying to make a few bucks on death.
yeah.
So I do that story, but someone who's just lost their mom or dad, or maybe an uncle or a brother, like they might not find it. That might be literally too soon for them, but.
But yeah, I mean, you go to a comedy club, and you gotta expect some of this stuff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, let's get into the title of this episode, which is 52 Pickup. 52 Pickup from 1986. Roy Scheider and Margaret, John Glover. We got a lot of people in this movie. So first of all, Earl, why did you pick this movie? You already showed us your memorabilia from it, but what? There it is. Look at that. We're gonna break it down, obviously, but first of all, why this movie?
Well, I had a date in 1986, and it was going reasonably well. And the girl said, "Hey, let's go to my house." She still lived with her parents, so I think the parents were they're supposed to be out of town or something. So I think she was saying, "Hey, green light, go," if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ew.
hello. So we go over there. We're sitting on the couch, making out or whatever, and then. All of a sudden the door opens up and it's the parents. They came back early for whatever reason.
God.
And, they're like, "Hey, Earl and Melanie, let's watch a movie." And I'm like, "Oh man, boner kill." Luckily,
Not that kind of family.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely was not Channel J in New York. But the movie was 52 Pickup, and I just fell in love with the main bad guy, John Glover, because he was the perfect combination of sleazy, little catty, vicious, funny. I mean, it was, to this day, the best bad guy role of all those qualities rolled up into one. I mean, it was a masterclass on how to be I don't want to say just from the 80s, but a bad guy in that type of role.
Yeah, no, I can see how you would think that. Now, I confession time. When you brought up this movie, that I prepared for the show and watched the movie. It was my first watch of this movie. So thank you for that. I always like watching new movies, even if they're from 1986. But yeah, I mean, this is one that I'm surprised doesn't get more attention and doesn't fall under the classic 80s action crime films. Obviously it's not, because it's so much less campy than your Commandos and your Rambos, things like that. Like, it's an actual thriller, which I find fascinating. Like, I enjoyed this movie way more than I thought I would. How about you, Dave?
Same thing. In fact, I had never even heard of this movie. And when Ben said we're doing 52 Pickup, I'm like, what in God's name is this movie? And usually, like, I think, I don't know. I think a recent episode we just did. We do movies like On the Waterfront or something like that. And when we had Rick Overton on, we did Easy Rider. And I'm like, oh man, I don't want to watch this movie. And but I'll tell you, I enjoyed pretty much every minute of this film. And yeah, I don't know if it's the nudity and all the, I think maybe like the kind of porn production under. I mean, I don't know that I'm surprised, Earl, that they showed this movie to you guys when you were kids, to be honest. It's a very adult movie that I don't think really gets made anymore. That's kind of how I feel.
I mean, I think I just love I'm a big fan of casting, whether it's a big movie or a small movie. And, I just think, like, if you take the bad guys, John Glover,
he's great.
Clarence Williams. Yeah, he really sank his teeth into the role. And which is, there's a famous clip on YouTube of him at, I think it was the original table read of Karate Kid, where he was the sensei. He was the Martin Poe character, and I could totally see that.
Definitely.
And Clarence Williams III, of course, was great in the Mod Squad. And,
awesome.
I mean, he's good in everything.
So good.
And then Robert Trebor, who was, I guess, the lesser known of the three bad guys. He's a great character actor. And in 52 Pickup, he played the perfect, I guess, yin and yang to Glover and Williams's viciousness of the nervous, sweaty bad guy. We're gonna get caught. We're gonna get caught.
Yeah. This guy, with his like blue eyes and stuff, like he's so like not menacing looking, just like crazy looking. You know, it's just like he's such a right. Yeah.
His name is Leo, and he has a gold chain that says Leo on.
In case you forget. And
I drive by. This is the great thing about living in Los Angeles. Every day I drive by where he worked. That porn theater I don't think it's a porn theater anymore, but it's still there, and it looks the same as it did in the movie.
Yeah.
Like every time I drive by, I'm expecting to see like Robert Trebor working in the window.
Now, one thing I didn't, I guess, ever know, I've never been in a porn theater or anything. What, like, you could go in and, well, this was more of a club that they went to, but go in and just take pictures of the ladies. Like, was that a thing? Is that a thing? Like, what's that about? Anybody know?
Back then it was. Like it was, you could take, I guess this was before escorts and like prostitution were like, you could just take naked pictures of prostitutes and you'd get the little it was just like it was in the movie. They'd give you a little Polaroid camera. You'd take the pictures. You'd either strike up a conversation with the model and go somewhere else with them, or you just, I guess, jack off to the pictures. I don't know.
Yeah, like it's
pretty inventive.
Like I wonder if I mean, I wouldn't think it would be cheaper than buying a magazine, but I guess you're getting the first-hand experience first of all, but also you could then enjoy it later as well. So but yeah,
ordering food through a drive-through, I guess.
Yeah. I found that very interesting. But yeah, Roy Scheider's character, he invented some sort of at the beginning we see
metal fusion.
Yeah, metal fusion, which goes to show his mechanical engineering abilities that we find out, in the end of the movie, how that comes in handy. But yeah, he's a, metal fusion guy, and then you got his wife, who's this politician, working for a politician, and now she's up for office or district attorney or something like that. So yeah, we get their little dynamic right at the start, or what they do, so it's a good way to set that all up. But then pretty quick into the movie, you get Roy Scheider getting stood up and shown this videotape, and I think this is our first glimpse of Glover, who you love and admire, and
dialogue here is hilarious, and it gets pretty dark too, right? They're showing him this videotape that they've been surveilling him with. He's been dating Kelly Preston, and he's like in his ear, oh, are you doing all this for a young piece of ass? He's like, look at that body.
Well, that's what, like, I remember watching that scene, and he's in the ski mask, and he's like narrating, almost like he's doing a sports documentary. Like, now here we are on Palm Springs, Low Shallot Motel. It's $40 a night. It's not a bad club. And there you are shooting the broad. Ooh, she got a nice rack, Mitch.
That's so true.
And it was just his like snidey commentary about, ooh, she must drain you dry, Mitch. You got to stay in shape chasing that young pussy. And
Well, but it for some reason though, like for an '80s movie, like I mentioned Commando earlier, like that's so campy. You got other '80s movies like this that are so campy, but this like. You're kind of freaked out by this. You're freaked out along with Roy Scheider, which I appreciate. I find this a lot less campy than I thought I would find it. And secondly, yeah, I mean, I'm actually like, yeah, as freaked out as Roy Scheider is, which I think is a huge testament to the film today. Do you guys find this campy at all? I mean, there's certain aspects that are campy, but
Yeah, like the movie gives you a wink and a nod throughout, but it's sort of okay. And I think maybe movies are missing that now. The story itself is pretty dark and very serious. And yeah, I mean, John Glover's a little over the top, but it's good and it works. And the parts where like you just kind of laugh along with it a little bit, not like, haha, this is stupid. I mean, if something's a little corny or whatever, it's just a part of the fun. Because it reminds me of I recently rewatched They Live, which came out, I think, within a year or two of this. And there's something about movies like that that could tell a good story. And I mean, that one's obviously more campy, but you're okay with it and it works. And I think that's kind of missing. I've really enjoyed what they did here. They also, just quickly, last thing I'll say, they draw out the Roy Schneider character very well right away. I mean, you get a sense of who he is. And I think kind of almost every character, they're not just flat. They have some dynamic to them, and they're a little bit deeper. I think kind of what you're thinking too, Ben, right? I mean, this is a deeper movie than you would think on first glance.
Well, I think it's also what attracted me to the movie. By the way, I used to co-host a podcast with Roddy Piper from They Live, but that's another story. Here is my autographed bottle of bubblegum soda that Roddy
That's awesome.
But it was, it's an Elmore Leonard novel, directed by John Frankenheimer. So I think the pedigree of the movie is like, wow, those are two legit mainstream people in their fields. So it wasn't just like they paid two beginning writers, say, write us a movie about the porn background and generic bad guys. And, I still puzzles me why it didn't do better.
Right.
But I think a couple years ago, I saw a documentary on Netflix called Electric Boogaloo. And it's a story of Canon Films, which was who made 52 Pickup. And basically they said they had two piles of scripts in the Canon Film office. Any movie for Chuck Norris, and then everything else in the other pile. So what they were essentially saying was, if it wasn't a Chuck Norris movie, we didn't care about it.
Got it.
So I kind of got my answer, because it wasn't really promoted that well. And
I don't like the poster either, because Roy Schneider's sitting there with a gun, and I don't think that really explains what the movie is, because he's not running around with a gun the whole movie. And I don't even know, does he even shoot anybody?
Yeah.
I think he hits Clarence Williams III when they did the home invasion.
He's pistol whips him.
Yeah, that's how many times in Clarence Williams was like, shit, motherfucker, you usually serve them up drinks. I mean, I can recite this movie line for line. I've seen it somewhere.
We talk about John Glover, who plays Alan Ramey, but Clarence Williams, man, he cool. He almost steals the show for me, villain wise. Like, he's just, especially when he's interrogating the one chick, Doreen. Yeah, and she's he's like pushing her with the pillow. What did you say? Like, this guy's scary, man. Like, this guy's like not this campy 80s villain. Like, he means it, he's definitely scary. Another thing go ahead.
That's what I like though about the three bad guys. It was almost like they were one bad guy. Like, you had the kind of funny used car salesman. Then you had, I guess you'd call him the muscle, and in Clarence Williams III, the viciousness, the sweating, choking her to death with the pillow, and then the almost sidekick type in Robert Trabora that was just there for, I think, the funny.
It's like a weasel, right?
Yeah, like another version of a used car salesman.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's another thing I appreciate, with this is, when Roy Scheider decides to tell his wife that he's having an affair, it's not your typical trope of the girl, throwing something in his face and like being so melodramatic about it. I love the calmness of the scene. Like she soaks it in. She asks him questions about it. Obviously, she's heard about it, but again, this is another scene where it's like, how did this movie not get more attention? It's just like, it's laid out there. It's not, like I said, melodramatic. It's just realistic in a way. It's because as an audience, you don't expect him to hear. We don't expect him to say that right away. Right at that moment. So
right.
we're kind of caught off guard the same way she is. So I appreciated that, again, in this type of movie. And I hate calling it this type of movie because I think this is a movie that more people should see and more people should revere.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think people forget how good of an actor Roy Scheider, I guess was. I still think of him as alive, but
right.
Especially his 70s output, with Jaws and Marathon Man and all his French Connection, and he had, and this is kind of a strange movie fact, but he had the De Niro role in Deer Hunter.
Really?
Yeah, he was forced. I forget I don't want to blow up the research. I think he wanted to get out of his movie contract with, I believe, Universal. And they were like, okay, well, we want you to do Jaws 2 right now. And he's like, and so he had to leave Deer Hunter, do Jaws 2, which, it wasn't a bomb, but it certainly wasn't Deer Hunter.
And it wasn't Jaws.
Yeah.
the original.
But that's how good of an actor he was. He was getting roles before De Niro.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, yeah, because I can't imagine, Deer Hunter without De Niro, but I can't imagine. You think of, say, De Niro in the first Jaws, like I can't imagine that because Roy Scheider was so good. So it's like, you got that balance there. But yeah, that's interesting that he had to take Jaws 2 to not do Deer Hunter, which won Best Picture, and was just fantastic film.
I think that's what separates 52 Pickup maybe from other more campier versions of the husband cheating on the wife and then revenge ensues. That the acting pedigree of most of, if not all, the actors in the movie was just better than your typical mid-'80s sleazy movie. Clarence Williams III, he's like I always like to reference him as like the Black Gene Hackman. Like he's good in anything you put him in.
Yeah.
He does kind of steal everything he's in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's got, I met him once. He was at a comedy show at the Improv I was on. And of course I went right up to him and I said, "Hey man, you're Bobby Shy, aren't you?" And he looked at me like, "No, I'm Clarence Williams III." I'm like, "No, man, you're Bobby Shy from 50 Pickup." And he laughed, but then he got the hell out of there pretty fast.
He's like, "This guy's a huge fan of 52 Pickup. I gotta leave. Nobody knows this
gotta
movie."
Go. I'm Link from the Mod Squad. I don't think anyone will ever reference me as Bobby Shy ever. So
I was thinking that this could have been a role you might see Harrison Ford play.
Right.
But I think Roy Scheider actually does a better job. But that's sort of a competent professional type man who then gets into a situation and maybe has to get his way out of it, which is interesting. And I does that make sense to you, Ben?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Harrison Ford
definitely.
takes
But
it.
yeah, Harrison Ford, I could totally see. Like, this seems like his type of movie. Like, it's similar, fugitive type, where he's wrongly convicted, even though he wasn't necessarily convicted in 52 Pickup yet. But it's a guy trying to prove his innocence and investigate on his own to who are the true killers and how
Yeah.
intent. Go ahead.
I don't think we did. I don't know. Did we even say we kind of talked around it just for those who haven't seen the movie. They bring Roy Schneider. They see him in the hotel. They play this videotape of him, and they basically extorting him for not $100,000 but $105,000. I'm not sure what they do. It's not a round number. I don't know that one exactly. But they basically want it within, I don't know, some number of weeks, and they want a $10,000 down payment. And that's when he goes to talk to his wife. And he kind of realizes, and the first thing I thought of when they pulled out the videotape is, because they say you get the tape when you give us the money. Well, they just make a copy. And this, and any of these kinds of things, you're never out, right? If you're being blackmailed, there's probably no real, they'll always keep coming. And this is what he starts realizing throughout the film, is that it's never going to end, because then it gets upped, right? They want 100,000 every year because they find out that he has some patent where he's selling the fusion metal thing to the military, which, by the way, almost kind of pointless, but I love. There are like 5 explosions in a field test, just really kind of for no reason other than just for us to see it, which I kind of loved.
They loved explosions.
That's what you love about the 80s.
Yeah.
It's like that scene, probably unimportant in the grand scheme of the movie. Like, you didn't need to. I think we all got, okay, he has a patent on metal fusion, but that's, the genius or lack of genius of Canon Films. Someone was like, we should show the metal fusion process.
Yeah.
It probably cost, I'll guess, that 20-second scene probably cost a couple $100,000 to shoot, and then you start. That could have been better served in a commercial for the movie or something.
Right. But it's cool because he's telling his lawyer that he's being extorted, and he's like in the middle of this conversation as they're doing this thing, and I thought that was an amazing scene. He's kind of being interrupted by people. Like, does it need to be here, boss? He's like, oh yeah, by the way, they want $100,000, and
well, because yeah, like you were saying, Dave, like it just keeps going if you give him the money, because that's what even his lawyer says. If you give them that, then they're just going to keep going after you. Like, they're just going to keep going at it, and yeah, it's but what comes next is, he gives 10,000, but it's really not 10,000. He gives him like just a bag with paper in it, not paper money. But that's when we get the holy shit intense scene of them making him watch a video of them killing Kelly Preston. That is, Earl, how insane is this scene?
Well, it's, once again, I go back to John Glover. It's his side commentary on the process. Essentially, if you haven't seen the movie, they kill Kelly Preston. They make, I guess, what you would call a snuff film.
Yeah.
To really blackmail, and this is where they go. Now it's $105,000 a year for the rest of your life, and John Glover is almost doing like a commentary you'd see on a DVD of a bonus, scenes from a movie where he explains the movie. It's like, you see that blood, Mitch? That's not ketchup. And those
yeah. When they rip her shirt off, we want to show a little skin to keep your interest.
This is, for your interest or whatever. And, and this is where the credits would be, but we're kind of low budget production.
But it's, again, so not camp. Like, it's just the characters. I don't know, just it's part of the character, and which makes him so menacing, and so in that scene, so even, I think it makes it even more haunting.
Yeah.
Is him just casually talking about it.
Yeah, I think it was his mixture of humor. I was around in the mid '80s, unfortunately, so the bad guys of that time frame were cookie cutter, I guess you'd say, almost. They would have the one-liners and they would like the bad guy from Cobra, the great Brian E. Thompson.
Yeah.
Only person I've ever paid to do a cameo, and it's completely off the subject, but it's the creepiest video I've had. Like, I think he was drunk in his jacuzzi, but that's another podcast.
Okay.
But the only bad guy I can really equate John Glover in 52 Pickup, and it's almost like Alan Rickman in Die Hard, where
yeah.
From the standpoint of his little bit of style, a little bit of humor, a little bit of viciousness, all rolled up into one. So, which is what I like.
Yeah, and he's what do we learn? He went to Northwestern. He's basically like an accountant turned pornographer.
Yeah, it just sounds reasonable.
Well, it seemed like but he has a violent streak and he's an abuser, because I think they said he was arrested and convicted for rape or something like that. So he probably wasn't going to get a job as an accountant after that.
Yeah, not so much.
Until he found better ways to make money, and that's when he put his fingers on the ledgers.
But strangely not, because he drives a piece of shit car and apparently has no money, so he has to extort Harry Mitchell.
That's the word.
But I love that car he drives. I think it's a GTO, and it's been my fantasy. Like, not that I'm Jay Leno and have hundreds of cars in my garage, but like, I would love to get a mint version of that car so I could be Alan Ramey and drive around the streets.
Are you a car guy? Do you have any classic cars?
I mean, I just traded in my Dodge Hellcat, which was way too fast for Los Angeles. Having a 707 horsepower car with nothing done to it. I mean, it is. I don't want to turn this into a car show, but I mean, it was just too fast. So I have a Jeep now. I have an old man Jeep.
How about that Jaguar that we see, which is actually interesting too, is before we talk about the Jaguar, but they're building the character of Roy Scheider, the Harry Mitchell guy. He has this little, it's a Jaguar with a removable top, right? And we see as he's leaving the garage, he's got this pulley system, how he lifts up the top. Pretty smart guy, right? I just thought that was an interesting touch. I already know something about this character before we even see anything.
Well, I didn't even know that there was. Do you guys hear that? Sorry. The dinging. Anyways, I didn't even know cars. I'm so not a car guy, so I don't know anything about cars. I didn't even know there were hard tops to convertibles. So I learned something in watching this.
That's good.
But
I do love that scene because it kind of sets up the end of the movie where it establishes that like he's really into his car and he takes pristine care of it.
Right.
And John Glover is a fan of the car, and obviously you don't know the end until it happens, but it really made the end scene really stand out a little more. So
definitely. And then, but yeah, I mean, with that video, them viciously, just killing Kelly Preston was just intense. And just something was just like, wow, I was not expecting that. And that's what really sucked me even more into this movie.
Yeah, because they broke into his house, stole his gun, stole his coat, and I think one other item. And then how about that what they did, they set the gun up in on something, and then with a rope
string,
pull trigger, But that was pretty rough.
Just his commentary during that scene of when they unveil the gun. Oh, it's a P9 automatic, and it's yours. Oh, you can pull the trigger without messing up any of the prints. We'll let you think about that for a while, Mitch. Now, here's your sport coat. It's a little ratty if you want my opinion. But what I want you to know is it's got your name on it.
Yeah. Well, and I like how I do, that kind of explains it to the audience, but it also doesn't like fully say that, it doesn't have your finger or it doesn't have our fingerprints on it. It has yours. So thus the cops will think that you killed this girl. It's like, no, they at least know the audience is smarter than that, or expect the audience to be smarter than that, and don't just they just have the characters naturally just say stuff like that, which I appreciated. But I love when Scheider goes into his investigation, because his wife wants to stop her campaign after finding out all this. And he's like, no, give me a couple of days. And that's when he goes to Doreen and takes a picture of Leo and all that. So, he's starting his little investigation. And then I love how he interweaves their stories to turn them against each other. Like, this is just... It's brilliant. Like, it's, I mean, we're going to say it I'm going to say it a million times. I'm probably going to say it a million more times. I can't believe this movie didn't get more attention.
It's a really good script. It honestly is.
Well, I mean, go ahead. It goes back to, like, Elmore Leonard's one of the premier novelists of my generation. I mean, you guys are younger than me, but so, and then John Frankenheimer's like, the guy who did Manchurian Candidate,
yeah.
So it's the I thought it was a better movie than Fatal Attraction, which did 100 times the business. Obviously, a bigger cast in terms of star power, but
this is a better movie, definitely.
Well, it's crazy, what marketing does. It's crazy, like you were saying earlier, like how they just didn't market this movie. Like, it's crazy how important marketing is.
Well, I think I'll stick up for the Cannon films from this standpoint. I mean, I definitely think they dropped the ball on marketing, but this was of course, kids today would think it's a tame subject matter, but in the mid '80s, basically have a mainstream film about a snuff film blackmail plot, it was probably tough to go, okay, who's our target audience?
Yeah. That's a tough one there. Yeah, especially.
I think when Boogie Nights came around, not that it's a similar movie, but just with porn as the backstory of both films, that it was a little more accepting when Boogie Nights came out of porn as a main subject matter in a film, whereas in '86 it was still almost a taboo subject to tackle, especially the snuff film angle.
Yeah.
It's a bit brutal. There's a lot of nudity. There's a lot of killing. It's definitely an adult film. And that's what I was saying. I don't even know. Does this movie even get made? Or they don't make movies like this anymore at all.
I feel like there's, I feel like in the 80s or 90s too, I'd say, they felt like they had to have nudity in every single rated R movie. Whereas today, like, I feel like they're way more concentrated on the story. And
Earl, where do all the boobs go?
Yeah. That's the question. Hashtag where.
Well, I think because it's so much more available on the internet, I guess I'm talking about porn, but like, you've got sites like myfreecams.com. That's not like a
dude. Any others?
List
I have nothing to do with that website, but like, I think in '86, the internet wasn't really fully developed. So if you didn't see boobs in a movie, it was almost like a taboo thing to have in a movie, was nudity and especially graphic. The graphic nature of 52 Pickup, it was almost a dark. Like, now it's a tame movie, I think.
Right. Yeah. Well, even my, in my early teens, like the only time I got to see that stuff was in rated R movies, like, because it was so hard to find in my early teens. Other than that, if I had to go to a friend's house that had HBO, or even my grandma's house that had HBO, and try to find it.
Dad, what are you doing down there? Nothing, Grandma.
I'll be done in about 5 minutes, Grandma.
Just watching Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
It's funny though, because you say it seems tame, but then on the other hand, you don't see this in films anymore, really. I mean, I don't know. So it's
it's weird. It's like movies to me. I was 18 when that movie came out. So, um, to me, I guess if you showed a kid that now, they're used to the graphic stuff. Like it goes to like action movies of the minute. If you show someone the Stallone movie Cobra, it's probably boring to them. Who's a fan of, say, the Fast and Furious franchise,
Right?
with the CGI and all that stuff. So I just think probably the dark nature of the movie was what made it, but what held it back.
The
Makes sense.
I mean, every movie has its flaws, but let's talk about the amount again. 105,000. Why is this so worth it to them for 105,000? First of all, they would have had to split it 3 ways. Why this amount? And then why 52? I mean, I know that's what he had in his bank account, but is there significance to this number, guys?
We don't know. Yeah, I have no idea what 105 is. Earl, any thoughts?
But that's what I love about the movie, is that it's such an obscure amount that it makes it more real. Like,
that's true.
Like 105,000, like it is an amount that makes no sense from this. It's not like some secret code. It's just
and it's not like the just rounded $1 million.
I'll assume the 52,000 was an homage to the card game 52 pickup, where you just throw all the cards around and like. I'll assume that might have some meaning, but
that's what it is. I kept thinking. I said, "Why does 52 pickup sound so familiar?" And now I know. God,
yeah,
I'm an idiot.
When you were a kid, some jackass friend of yours would go, "Hey, you want to play 52 pickup?" And you're like, "Sure, what's that?" And then I throw all the cards on the floor, and you're like, "Asshole."
I mean, I've always assumed that the movie was some kind of like hidden, almost Easter egg tribute to that card game, where all of Roy Scheider's cards were blown up, and he's spent the rest of the movie picking up the pieces.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Although I will say my favorite scene in the movie is when John Glover is with the 2 girls filming a threesome, and then Clarence Williams comes through because he thinks that he's getting X'd out of the deal. And John Glover in his black Speedos. Hey, Bobby, get rid of the bitches.
That's great. Yeah, because I love that Scheider causes all this tension. He first meets up with he takes that picture of Leo, like I said earlier, and then he meets up with Glover, right? Or does he meet up with Clarence first? No, I think Glover. He meets with Glover. He meets him at the movie theater, and then he basically slaps him around a little. I like that he got it that chance to do that to him, but Glover still wasn't giving himself up. He was just like,
They had great chemistry, which I think. What I really loved about the movie is the 3 bad guys. They had good chemistry with each other.
Yeah.
Roy Scheider and Glover had good chemistry. I mean, that scene where he goes to the porno theater to give him the $10,000. And I'm not trying to make it like it was Pacino and De Niro in the diner in Heat, but it was like, there's something about your face makes me want to slap the shit out of it.
That was great.
Yeah, be at the my work midnight. He's like, I could be walking into something. You could be walking into surgery. It's like
it's great.
I love how Scheider gets that confidence. He's just like, I got nothing to lose at this point. I'm going to try everything I can to protect what I have, protect my wife and everything like that. And it's just, it's great how it unfolds from there. And he turns these guys against each other. And, it's like I said about him and Doreen, Clarence and Doreen, that scene was crazy. And then he eventually goes to Leo, kills Leo and his partner. And that's when it all starts with them just continuing to go downhill. Then Glover turns on Clarence, and yeah, then it's just it's just downhill from there for all of them. But yeah, I love that it is Roy Scheider picking up the pieces. It's him picking up 50. He's picking up 52 cards, 52 pickup.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
Dave?
it's I do like how you're right. Halfway through the movie, he almost had this like pro wrestler style confidence of like, no, I'm going to fight back, and and then the bad guys almost started turning into the good guys because they were kind of like shrinking violets when he started fighting back, and
Yeah.
um,
And then they start feeling like they're under pressure, which is
Yeah.
I like
like
that.
the tables were turned. I don't know, about maybe 60% into the movie, and just I guess the car has the final tool of the demise of John Glover, which is something he loved throughout the movie. He would always mention the car, and
Yeah.
I think he probably at the end thought, "Oh my God, I'm getting the car!
Yeah.
I'm getting the money and the car I
Right.
wanted."
Yeah.
And
Well, and I love how right before that, yeah, I mean, it's Clarence dies, and then, but then Doreen dies because they're like, what do we do with her? Let's just kill her too because
He
there's
keeps
really
driving
nothing.
through a fence trying to get out. That was
Yeah, yeah,
much.
just gets shot. But yeah, Glover he ends up with the car with the money because he kidnaps Scheider's wife, and I guess some sort of heroin. I thought it was maybe just a.
And he
sleep-
raped her, right? I think we.
yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
interesting thing is and it's a very quick scene, but this is why I probably haven't fully made it in stand-up comedy, is because I retain information like this. But the guy who he buys the heroin from is the same guy who sells the heroin to Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon, the first one. And that's Anthony Kiedis' dad, from the Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Really?
who in real life was a drug dealer.
Wow!
So he just-
Look at that.
They just found him.
Yeah, like
With a
oh, your
camera.
your dad's a drug dealer. Do you think he could help us out in a couple films? That's crazy. Wow. I for some reason I don't remember.
It's a very
Glover.
quick scene where they
Yeah.
meet on one of the in Long Beach on the pier, and I think Anthony Kiedis' dad says to John Glover, "You did say you wanted a spoon, didn't you?"
Oh,
He's
yeah,
in the
yeah.
car, yeah.
I mean, you
Right.
have to be paying very careful attention, which when you've seen a movie 700 times, you tend to pick up the nuances.
What's Earl? What's the last line in this movie?
Oh, that's easy. John Glover puts on the radio, and you hear Roy Scheider's voice going, "Hello, Alan. Welcome to the first and the last 10 seconds of the rest of your life." And then the camera points to Roy Scheider, and you just see him go, "So long, sport."
And then kaboom! Because yes, Glover's character is calling everyone sport the whole time, which I was like, why does he keep saying that? And then it's like, oh, it's for the payoff at the end. That's why. Yeah, it's it was very Hell 9000-ish when Roy Schneider's voice when his voice comes out. It's like, I'm sorry, Dave. This conversation can serve no further purpose. Goodbye.
So he
Yeah.
must not just been changing the spark plugs that night when we saw him in the garage, right? He was playing.
According to Anne Margaret, if he was just changing the spark plugs, they wouldn't be in the position they were in.
So my question is, so everyone who's involved in this conspiracy or whatever you want to call it is dead now, besides Roy Scheider. So like he's the only one left alive. How does he get away with this at this point? Is my question.
Yeah, you would think a car exploding on the Long Beach docks would cause a certain amount of legal attention.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
would
know,
think.
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've never really thought about the future of of the movie after the car explosion. I was just so captivated by the '80s synthesizer.
We're not worried about it. Let's just pan out and fade to black and
It, well, and I love about these old action movies too that they all have the similar score. Even Heat had this type of score. It was like deep piano notes, doom doom,
Right.
and then like yeah, it's yeah, they're all the same there. But yeah, I was wondering. I was like, and then not only did he cheat on her, but he then caused all this where she almost gets killed. But is she gonna take him back now? Like, it's
Well, I
I
also love John Glover's commentary on the, when he gives Roy Scheider his wife back. It's just one last little bit of humor out of him. It's like, you got a fine bitch there, Mitch. She got a lot of miles on her, but she still cooks.
yeah. Is because yeah, I mean, I think is that the line we realize he raped her probably.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I mean, it is probably about as far as they could have gone when he actually injects her with the heroin and she starts to throw up, and he's like in his Johnny Cool vibe. That's okay. Happens to everyone.
Yeah.
Don't let it ruin your high.
yeah.
Right. Like, still enjoy it, like
Yeah. Well,
oh man.
he's such a good actor. He's gay in real life, but he plays a very believable, I guess, heterosexual killer.
Speaking of that, the other Leo's character and the like helper guy at the strip club, was there a thing going on with them? It seemed
Yes.
like okay, yeah, I thought so. I just wasn't sure. Like it seemed like in the '80s they were like, no, we don't show men kiss, but we can allude to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, you'd think in a movie like that pretty much was a pretty black and white movie in terms of the subject matter and the graphic nature of the sex. That, they wouldn't have a problem with some gay themed scenes.
right.
They did seem to like kind of tiptoe around. Oh, we can't have an older guy making out with a young dude.
Yeah.
Let's just hint around it.
Yeah, he like touches his lips or something. Like that's as far as we're gonna go. Cut.
Let's have
But yeah.
Clarence Williams III kill the young kid now. Let's get this gay stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
We have to have some decency in this film, for God's sake.
I mean, we'll do a snuff film, but leave out the gay stuff, man.
Oh man, but yeah, 52 pickup, man. Yeah, more people need to see this. If you haven't seen it, we gave away a lot, but it's still enjoyable. Definitely check it out. Did you, Earl? Do you have any final thoughts that we didn't mention? Any final thoughts on the film?
Well, just I try and expose this movie for many reasons, just because I love the cast. John Glover, I think 2 years later, did not a similar movie, but he did a movie called The Chocolate War, which it was about an all-boys school selling chocolates, and he's the evil, sadistic priest forcing the kids to sell chocolates. He's just so good in everything. I wish that he was more well known.
Yeah.
And he still acts to this day. I think he does a lot of Broadway and oddly voiceover stuff. And I think he plays Lex Luthor in one of the Superman cartoons.
Okay.
Just it's a great cast, and it's a master class, and especially I don't like to say 80s specific, but to be a bad guy, I guess you'd say in the mid 80s kind of way. I don't think there's any better viewing of a movie. Maybe Hans von Gruber and Die Hard.
Yeah.
It's very much a similar character with it wasn't just a generic evil villain. It was an evil villain with a little bit of humor involved, which I prefer.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. No, yeah, I really enjoyed watching this movie. It was very surprising. Like I said, I wasn't expecting much from it. I thought it was just going to be a campy, 80s movie, but it ended up being an intriguing thriller, just for any day and age. And yeah, like you said, the cast is just great. And yeah, they work well with each other, the villains and everything like that.
Well, I think it was just one more note in terms of the bad guy humor is if you notice after this movie came out, that the bad guys in most movies in the 80s started to have a little bit of humor involved in it. Like, I think RoboCop came out a year later, and there was, Kurtwood Smith was somewhat playing a John Glover type evil, but with a little smidge of humor in it. And then,
Yeah.
Hans von Gruber, of course, and then, even like some Schwarzenegger movies in the late 80s, they had, yes, the generic bad guy, but they'd always have a little bit of humor thrown in there.
Sure.
Versus like the early 80s, it was pretty much a paint by numbers, evil drug lord, no humor, just more graphic death than graphic death with a little pinch of humor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, I mean it's one of those films that kind of slipped through the radar for me for many years, but yeah, so glad you recommended it and glad we got to watch it. Dave, any final thoughts on it?
I always remember John Glover from his little role in Scrooged as the executive who comes in trying to just fuck up Bill Murray's shit. Great role in that. I like the intelligence of the movie. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of times I laughed at some of the a little bit over the top parts, but it was out of pure enjoyment. And Earl, the voiceover or the narration stuff is you are so spot on all of it. It's exactly how it goes. It's so creepy and weird, and yet this evil man is very agreeable. He goes into Roy Scheider's office. He invites him in to check out his books. Turns out the guy, as we said, was an accountant, and we learn while he's quite wealthy, he's not very liquid. He's got the IRS bearing down on him. Yes, he has this manufacturing plant, which is worth, he has assets, but he doesn't have money. So that's how they agree to the 52 to be picked up. But that's what I like about this film, is surprisingly deep, very well written. And I think the way it works is because it straddles right on the edge of going a bit too far over the top and being too campy. I think it works really well. I am so glad, Earl, that you picked this film. I'm so glad that I saw it, and I would definitely recommend it to everybody listening to go ahead and watch 52 Pickup.
Yes, please. Come for the plot, come for the cast, but stay for the side commentary by John Glover and some of the dirtier scenes, which kind of, I think, soften the blow of the graphic nature of some of the things. And I was so excited when I saw your guys' podcast with Rick Overton. I'm like, oh my God. Let me tell you, I never reach out and ask to be on podcasts just because I'm shy in a weird way. You wouldn't, if you saw me on Roast Battle, you wouldn't think this guy's shy. But I was like, this is my chance to expose 52 Pickup to the world.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's
so. Thank you guys, because I think it's a great podcast and I know you guys do like On the Waterfront, bigger movies typically, but you also will have lesser known movies like 52 Pickup. So I think it's a great service what you guys are doing.
I tell you, man, I am, and yeah, On the Waterfront, obviously, great film. But I've come around recently. I'm kind of over my snobbery about film, and so this is it's all about your enjoyment. And I think a movie like this, to me, no, it's not On the Waterfront, but it's pretty damn good, and I really, really loved watching this movie.
Yeah. Definitely. But yeah, we really appreciate you reaching out, and it's we love talking movies, even if it's not revered by many people. We love giving it a chance and in hearing people who are passionate about it. That's what we love, is hearing people talk passionately about a movie they love. So are you promoting any, are you working on anything, any projects coming up, and where can people find you on social media?
I'm very boring in that regard. I'm the same handle on all social media. It's just my name, at Earl Skakel. Let me spell the last name for you. I mean, Earl's pretty standard, EARL. And then it gets a little wonky. Skakel is SKAKEL. If you Google my name, my cousin's murder trial pops up first. Just glance through that stuff. In terms of what I'm up to right now, I'm in Yeah, no, it really sucks.
That's a story for next time you come on. We'll talk about that.
Well, I do already have another movie picked out, and I know you guys probably it's 52 Pickup is my favorite movie, my 1A, and it kind of is the same theme of a somewhat obscure movie as the surf movie Big Wednesday, but well, John Milius movie, all that stuff. The only thing I have going on right now, in full disclosure, is I'm on an all-black cartoon by Tyler, the Creator, called The Jellies. I'm the only white guy on the show. I play the dad, Barry. So if you like cartoons, you can go on Adult Swim or HBO Max and
Excellent.
watch The Jellies, and you'll hear this deep baritone voice.
That's awesome.
It is very beautiful.
You're the token white guy. Look at that.
Well, people have gotten mad at me. Like, they said, you took a voice. Tyler saw me at the Comedy Store, and he's like, I want you to be my dad. And I was like, well, who are you? Like, here's one of the biggest rappers in the world. It's like, I'm Tyler, the Creator. And I'm like, swell. I'm Earl, the comic. Who are you? And that's how I got the cards. I think he enjoyed that I didn't know who he was, because I'm an 80s metalhead, like, Bon Jovi and stuff like that. So I got a lot of some of his fans and just, I guess, people who speak out for more African-American roles for African-American actors were like, why are you using a white guy when that could have gone to any African-American voiceover actor? And he's like, I've never heard a black guy with Earl's voice before. So, sorry.
I gotta hear this.
That's great. But no, really appreciate you reaching out, and thanks for coming on, my man.
No, thank you. I look forward to Big Wednesday talks. So whenever you need me, just you guys have my info.
All right, there you have it, folks. 52 Pickup with Earl Skakel. Again, be sure to follow us on Twitter at BlockbusterCast, Instagram at Blockbuster Mentality. That's where you'll get all the updates on the show. And again, rate and review us on iTunes. And let us know what you thought of 52 Pickup. Did you enjoy it? Have you seen it? Let us know, and we'd appreciate it. But all right, folks, well, that is it for me. For Dave and Earl, I'm Ben. And as always, grab some popcorn, grab some snacks. We'll catch you guys at the movies.